Hello, everyone, and welcome. We'll give everyone just a couple of minutes to get settled in before we get started. So please let us know while we get started, like where's everyone joining us from? Who are you with? This is going to be an interactive session, so we'll have polls. Feel free to obviously drop any questions you have during the session in the Q&A. We'll maybe answer them live, if not at the end of the presentation. So we'll just give everyone here a couple minutes to get started. Dave, John, how are you this morning?
Great.
Good.
Good morning.
Lovely, lovely. All right. We are definitely excited to have everyone here for the webinar, Raising the Standard, How Airlines and MROs Are Rethinking Maintenance and Reliability in 2025. My name is Danny. I'll be the moderator for this session. And again, just those housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded. We'll send the recording out to everyone after we end today. And again, submit any questions. We have a Q&A feature, or you can just drop them in the chat. And then again, if you experience any technical issues or if you can't hear us, please post something in the chat as well, and we'll see if we can help get that figured out for you. So let's get started. Before we kick things off, I'd love to do a quick introduction with our panelists today. John, let's start with you. Can you share, who you are, where you're joining us from, a quick overview of your role at Varion, and then maybe one area where you see the most opportunity for improvement or innovation in 2025?
Gotcha. Thank you. Good morning, Danny. Good morning to everyone. I'm John Talmadge. I'm the Vice President of Business Development for Varion. My role here is really to connect our core customers and our OEMs and help be the voice of the customer to make sure that we at Varion are supplying things that are needed to improve the operations for both airlines and business aviation, as well as MROs and owner operators. So one of the things that I think I see the most, be that airline or business aviation, an area of opportunity is to integrate technology in a way that makes sense and doesn't disrupt the workflow to really bridge the gap on the technician shortage that we see today.
Yeah. Dave, similar to you, where are you joining us from? A little bit about your role at Varion and where you see the most opportunity for improvement in 25.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. I'm Dave Purfirst, Director of Solution Consultants here at Varion. My role is basically to understand your requirements and needs and how they map to our capabilities in the solution that we offer. I'm joining from Boulder, Colorado, or just outside of Boulder, Colorado, and it's going to be a rainy day here.
Yes, I came back to sunshine. I love it in the Pacific Northwest. Now that we've met the group that's going to be taking us through the session today, a little bit about our agenda. We're going to recap the biggest takeaways from the 2025 Aviation Maintenance Benchmark Report and how teams are improving efficiency, compliance, turnaround times. From there, we're going to shift to how Varion helps operators address some of those challenges, like without adding complexity to their operations already. And then we'll wrap things with a fun rapid fire and then that live Q&A. Let me advance that slide here. So a little bit about our 2025 Aviation Benchmark Report. We surveyed over 800 maintenance professionals, including many from commercial airlines, regional carriers, MROs, and they shared real data on like what's working, what's not, and where we're seeing those most pressures heading into 2025 and beyond. So we wanted to start with the top theme that we found from the report, which is that at 7 out of every 10 aviation leaders say that it's a core driver behind their maintenance strategy. So John, where do you see the biggest bottlenecks slowing that efficiency today?
So they're a little bit different from airline to business aviation, but they do share some core component and fixes there. Our bottlenecks primarily, as I mentioned before, technician shortage is probably the one thing we hear the most. At an airline, that means the bottleneck is usually at mitigating those AOG events or those maintenance events that happen at a gate in the middle of a scheduled day, where for maximum utilization, you're trying to get 6, 7 legs out of your aircraft in one day. And so there's that, the actually having the personnel on hand and also the parts in the right place to help mitigate that. Business aviation faces some of the same challenges, just sort of in a different format as you're trying to get out on the first flight of the day. And really, if you're not able to have dispatch reliability, then you lose the opportunity to generate revenue with that asset for the rest of the day. So I would say most of the bottlenecks right now are the not just the shortage, but lack of experience for troubleshooting in AOG situations, or just unscheduled maintenance situations on the ramp. And then also the ability to have the parts in the right place is key.
Yeah, that makes sense. Dave, from your point of view and maybe a tooling or solution standpoint, what are the most impactful changes teams are making to improve that efficiency?
Yeah, what I would say is, trying to gather their data that they're collecting in all their, source systems, and being able to, leverage that data to drive insight to where those deficiencies are to then improve their operational efficiency. So, taking that data, analyzing it, and identifying where their gaps are, and then trying to, leverage that data to improve what's happening on the ground day to day.
Yeah. Shifting gears a little bit to predictive maintenance. 65% of the people who responded in our benchmark report said that they're exploring it, but there's obviously that noticeable gap between interest and full integration. So, Dave, what does a realistic starting point for this idea of predictive maintenance look like for teams who are early on in that journey?
Well, again, kind of like what you just said earlier, is, leveraging the data that they're collecting now. So using that past data to help them, identify where, those risks of, AOG events are going to happen, right? So, and then utilizing tools that are in the market space to be able to help identify those risk areas. So, like our, very on reliability tool, we have the ability to, identify the risk of those parts failing at an 85% rate or at 95% rate. And you can, as the operator, they can match that to what their criteria is. So how far do they want to push that risk on those components? So that's what I would say.
Yeah. John, what do you think the jump from interest to implementation, why is that proving tough for so many operators?
Great question. Part of it is cultural, right? Aviation safety is a zero-sum event. We like to say that safety is a moral imperative, right? There is no substitute for that. And so part of it is a trust issue. You're now taking a new technology, one that you may not be familiar with, especially if you're more experienced, and saying, hey, I'm going to let this guide me and make recommendations. So that's part of it. Part of it is actually getting the information that you need, the data that you need to train the models to give you the answers that you expect, and also the guidance that makes sense to you, because at the end of the day, it's your certificate on the line there, where it's your responsibility, and these are real people flying on real airplanes. So part of that is a trust issue. Part of it is legacy systems. So whether as a small operator you're using Excel spreadsheets or some other piece, and then you have a different tracking system for your crews and customers, getting all of those together to integrate into something that gives you some clear guidance on how to manage the schedule is something that's sort of a tough bridge to jump. And then getting ROI, right? Somebody has to approve this. So being able to understand where the return is on your investment for investing in these systems is important to not just gaining that asset, but also integrating it into your everyday workflow. And they don't, and the last part is it has to be within the workflow, right? You don't need additional disruptions. What you're trying to do is shorten the gap on troubleshooting that AOG aircraft and improve dispatch reliability, not another, tool to manage.
Exactly. I've heard this already brought up a little bit in the introductions, and it makes a lot of sense, which is workforce shortages and staffing. 62% of people said that technician shortages are a critical challenge, and we know that it's really doesn't have any signs of easing up anytime soon. So, John, can you elaborate more on the long-term implications, sorry, if the industry really doesn't close this gap?
Yeah, so you have to really start at, short term, you get these immediate effects, right? Increased cost, delays, things like that. 3 to 7 years, you start looking at fleet underutilization. And then what I mean by that is you can only fly what you can support. So it starts to fundamentally change the growth rate or throttle the growth rate of your operation, be that as a business aviation operator or as an MRO servicing those. There's only so many new clients you can take on, or as an airline, even it starts to limit that growth. And then long term, in addition to that short growth, you're going to start to see other issues associated with decreased demand for new airframes, that ripple effect that goes on and on. So it's really imperative that we right now address this and become comfortable with technology that allows us to bridge that gap so that it doesn't have long-term negative effects, not just on our personal business, but the industry as a whole.
Yeah. Dave, can you kind of expand on that with how maintenance teams are using technology to stay efficient without overloading the people they do have?
Yeah, so operations are looking at new technology to give their current people the ability to get the information in their hands quickly and efficiently. So to be able to utilize mobile technology as well as other critical technologies that's taking information putting that into kind of a data warehouse to then be leveraged to push that information down to the ground to the technician to be able to perform their work efficiently and effectively and within the regulatory compliance. So um, utilizing that mobile technology is probably critical to the workforce, but also giving that, maybe inexperienced workforce the knowledge of past right into their hands to be able to take advantage of that and find the fix the quickest way possible. That's what I see.
Yeah. I don't see us ending the conversation on the tech shortage here. I know we'll come back to that later in the session. But I do want to talk about regulatory compliance. 7.8, so almost 8 out of every 10 teams face complex compliance challenges today. And that's especially with the evolving global networks or global requirements, patchwork processes. John, what's the risk of continuing to manage compliance manually across, we did already talk about those disconnected systems.
Yeah, I think the question really opens that up as far as shedding some light, and the response is shedding some light on that. If you continue to try to manage compliance manually, uh, obviously you're limited by the human's capability to find everything, but it's also bolstered by whatever your M&E platform is, being able to give you a robust alerting system so that you can plan ahead. But the risks for that, if you are continue to manage it manually, is beyond just overflying inspections or missing something locally. There's safety implications for that too, right? Those compliance steps are there for a reason. So you want to make sure that not only you doing everything to keep you out of trouble with the EASA or the FAA, but more importantly to maintain a safe operation, to minimize your downtime, and to maximize the effectiveness of whatever of your maintenance program. And to do that, you really should be leveraging everything that's come about in the last few years, especially with with AI, or just with an automated process that can give you some increased visibility to those issues as they pop up, and to be able to look ahead to make sure that that you're in a position you have everything you need to minimize that downtime.
Yeah. Dave, how are operators using, the ones that are maybe a little bit more advanced or modern, how are they using digital tools to simplify those audits, the record keeping, the regulatory reporting?
Yeah, so if you're moving from a paper-based system, which paper can get lost and damage, they're utilizing systems like our Tracking Plus tool to be able to put their maintenance program, apply that to the aircraft that they operate, and then be able to schedule and execute that maintenance. And that's all tracked digitally, which then can be, mined and pulled out, and reports created to then, approve compliance to the regulators. So taking advantage of these tools that are in the market space, like our Tracking Plus tool, to be able to you know, apply that kind of paper-based process into electronic world. It gives operators efficiencies, and their effectiveness on, regulatory compliance and reporting is there in the market space. Another tool that we offer is our Varion reliability tool, where we can create, that CAS report from a push of a button. So we're taking all the data from the source systems and being able to pull that reliability information into a single report to be able to push that to the regulator to prove their compliance, and how they're looking at safety issues, reliability issues, and proving to the regulator that that operator is operating in a safe and efficient manner.
Yeah. Uh, Moving on from compliance, so we've kind of been talking about like legacy systems and the challenges there. I think it would be remiss if we didn't talk about AI. AI is huge across every industry. Aviation is not outside of that. And so when we were doing the benchmark report, 70% of people said, that yellow bar there, that AI is critical, but just a fraction of those individuals have actually integrated it into their operation in some way, shape, or form. John, what do you think is holding most teams back from fully embracing AI in maintenance and reliability workflows?
Yeah, and we've touched on this a bit, right? Part of this is the trust and automation. It's why it's important for tools like guided troubleshooting to be a guidance tool, not a decision replacement tool, so that it's helping more efficiently try to, troubleshoot any kind of situation. And then as you see the marked improvement in that, that helps adoption. So that this helps you do your job better, faster, and easier. You're more likely to adopt this and make it part of your daily workflow. Part of it is, even if you want to do that, data fragmentation and the quality of the data. So I know that we have the capability to integrate in our diagnostics tool even maintenance reports that are handwritten into a logbook, and then later entered in pilot reports. So unless you have the ability to combine all of that data into one set, then you're getting an incomplete picture. And beyond that, taking that data and turning it into actionable items is the next real step. So even if even if a company wants to put AI to work for them, it has to be able to be trained in a way that's meaningful, good source data that produces information that is actionable and allows you to actually do something with it without disrupting your workflow. So those are all, that data quality challenge is one that can only be done by very few, when there are lots of people out there claiming to have, magnificent AI capabilities.
Yeah. Speaking of magnificent AI capabilities, Dave, can you share how Varion does use AI in our products, and really share how we go beyond it just being kind of a buzzword and what everyone's into? Like, how are we actually using AI in some of our products today?
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, we've been using a form of AI for quite a while. So In our diagnostics tool on the defect analysis side, we're using NLP engine. So, natural language processing, we built up a library, we utilize that, we've trained it, and whenever a new operator comes on, we take a view of that information and train it even more. So as our customers use it every day, our AI is getting better and better. So we're trying to eliminate that hallucination, which is currently in, like ChatGPT and these other, off the or I guess free available AI engines. We're self-contained. We're using only the aviation terminology in our solutions, and to try to eliminate that hallucination that you've heard in uh, out there in the market, to be able to give accurate information to the end users. So we're using utilizing that information, but also on our other tools as well. We're able to take what we have in our applications, analyze that through our engines to give us a better result as we move forward.
Yeah, love that. We shared really what the industry said, but now we want to hear from our audience out here today. I know there's quite a few of us. So which of the areas that we just talked about feel most pressing in your day to day? So we're going to launch a poll. If I can figure that out. If not, maybe someone can. Let's do that. There we go. So again, like what challenge is really most urgent for your operation right now? Is it improving operational efficiency, implementing that kind of predictive maintenance structure, addressing your technician shortages, managing that regulatory compliance, or adopting AI tools? So, and it's totally fair if you're kind of like all the above, like that totally makes sense, but just picking the one that is right, and most urgent for your operation would be great to hear. So we'll just give everyone here a couple minutes to figure that out. All right. Thank you guys. And now we're going to shift to kind of another panel section, which is, how leading teams are, taking from the benchmark report and tackling these challenges in the field. So we're going to start first with reducing turnaround times, something that every operator is focused on. And from what we've seen in the data, it's one of the top priorities across the board. So John, what trends are you seeing and how leading operators are rethinking turnaround strategies, especially with tighter staffing, and growing pressure to do more?
Love this question. I kind of grew up in the Delta Operations Control Center, so this is a hot topic of conversation from the largest to the smallest. One of the things they're doing to reduce the turnaround times is being ahead of the aircraft, thinking before they get there. Obviously, if you're a hub and spoke carrier, you're doing that kind of push planning ahead and pre-positioning personnel and equipment, but even a smaller operator, being able to relay information, codes, things like that ahead of them to the maintenance control center to allow them to greet the aircraft is super helpful. Instead of going with paper checklists, we do the same thing every time, doing real-time task sequencing based on the condition of the aircraft, the gate, the availability, things like that. But it's really about getting ahead of the aircraft and being ready and knowing what the plan is before the aircraft arrives at the gate, then having that communication tool, that real-time visibility to the status or condition of the aircraft throughout the turn, and then focusing on off the gate time. So, for a long time, we focused on arrival within 15, but the truth is the real magic is getting off the gate on time because it allows for everything else to happen. It makes for a much more efficient push and bank if you have a hub and spoke operation, and just increased efficiency of the schedule that you're built, because with that reliability you can build a better schedule.
Yeah, love it. Building on that, you know, reducing turnaround time is great or leaving the gate on time, but that speed doesn't really mean much if the same issues keep popping up over and over and over again. So, Dave, what's helping operators catch those recurring defects earlier to get to the root cause more quickly?
Yeah, so like you said, we need to identify those recurring defects. So you need to have tools, back-end engines to decipher the data that's being put into your M&E system to be able to identify those recurring defects. And some of those issues are just kind of data quality that's being put into the system. How do you know, get that complete picture of what's happening to your aircraft? So there's tools in the market space in our defect analysis side of diagnostics does that using our NLP engine to identify that recurring defect and whether it's turning into a chronic defect. Then utilizing our guided troubleshooting side of the diagnostics platform. So yes, we have this recurring defect. It's great that we've identified that, but now we need to fix it, right? So how do we, help the operator and the technician on the ground to be able to fix that issue the first time or improve the fix rate on those recurring defects? So yes, we need to identify it, but then we need to help the technician find that fix quickly. So we're utilizing the data that we've had from the past, understanding what has fixed that issue in the past, given a rating, and then being able to give that information to maintenance control, who can then pass it down to the technician to get that fix done correctly. And then if there is more information that's required to identify that fix or figure out what needs to happen. Well, we have our guided troubleshooting side of the house, which then guides you through the process of what is that fault isolation process to be able to identify that fix. And we're putting that all in the hands of the technician in a mobile way. So they don't have to go back and forth from desk to phone, whatever that is. All that information can be pushed electronically down to the technician to get that information into their hands efficiently.
Yeah. Quick turns, fewer repeat defects. They both feed into this bigger goal of maximizing aircraft availability. So let's build on the reliability conversation we've kind of started and talk about what leading teams are doing to improve overall fleet availability. John, what are some of the biggest barriers you see preventing teams from maintaining consistently high fleet availability?
Right. So, building what Dave just said, we've touched on some of the issues around staffing, around supply chain, and certainly those are all sort of the tactical reasons. But the fleets with the best aircraft dispatch reliability approach it from a systemic view. So being able to have that 30,000-foot view of how all of these things interconnect and act with one another, and then plan ahead to give you the time that repeatable, consistent, proactive planning culture is what drives this max dispatch reliability because that means never having to waste time waiting on parts or people, and that's the bottom line. So the ability to identify each one of those repeat defects and then find that first time fix so that it's not propagating throughout the schedule for the rest of the day, not having to down an airplane or turn down clients because you can't get a part on time, and we know that there are supply chain challenges. And then how to staff and manage all of those assets. Really, from a 30,000-foot view, you have to have a systemic view of all of this. Those are what the top air carriers and also 135 operators are doing, or charter operators are doing, to make sure that when they need that airplane, it's ready to go.
Yeah. I think we've chatted a lot about what teams might have in their control or things that they can do to change and improve themselves. But now let's shift into what teams can't really control. We see tariffs, is a little bit of a roller coaster, changes day in and day out. But also the supplies chain strains are really reshaping how maintenance gets done, no matter how efficient the operation is. So tariffs aren't just a sourcing issue anymore. They're really impacting how operators plan maintenance and manage across the fleet. John, what are you hearing from operators about how tariffs are impacting their long-term kind of planning and budget strategies?
Sure, we are in a dynamic tariff environment at the moment, and some of it is when you're interacting with the U.S., we've seen carriers like Delta take delivery of an Airbus aircraft, and put it in service overseas before they bring it to get around tariff constraints. Obviously, the parts um, piece of this, be they major components like engines or others, or just minor components, face those challenges as well. In some of the rest of the world, it's not a big deal. I mean, they're not as impacted as they are, but certainly the tariff environment is changing, and so the ability to plan ahead, to know what your needs are going to be, and to start sourcing. Give your parts orders times to start finding those pieces, and understanding what each one of any of the tariffs mean to your particular operation on a leg by leg basis. That's what we're hearing is like, hey, we're really focusing on breaking down the operation on a leg by leg basis, in addition to our supply chain, to make sure that we're either not as impacted by tariffs, or that we can adjust for them, be that in fees, be it just being able to plan for that ahead of time, so that it doesn't slow down the actual operation itself.
Yeah. I mean, even with the right people in place, you can't move if you don't have the parts.
That's it.
Um, we see lead times are continually growing. I think that's kind of been the case really since 2020. And teams still are struggling to forecast that effectively. So, Dave, how are operators using forecasting or planning tools to kind of avoid or at least mitigate some of these parts related downtime?
Yeah, so they're using tools to analyze their data to understand their risk of what's on wing, to then be able to, plan and procure parts in a manner that makes it available to them. There was the just-in-time process, but maybe with this tariff environment that we're in, they're looking at it a little bit differently, and trying to understand, okay, how can I, have the parts in stock or available for my fleet at the right place at the right time. And really, that comes down to understanding the risks that those components are at on wing, to be able to then, plan your, inventory correctly, and place it in the correct areas of your operation. So what stations do they need to be at? To be able to prevent those AOG events that could happen. And then how, operators are kind of looking at, well, do I, take on more risk, or do I need to take on less risk? And there's tools out there to give them that insight, to be able to understand where they currently stand, and then to be able to act on that.
Yeah. And we got a great question in our Q&A from Zayed about guided troubleshooting and some questions there, which actually leads us perfectly into our next section. This is kind of concluding maybe the thought leadership portion of the webinar, but we do encourage everyone to please stick around for a quick overview about the two solutions that we have been kind of talking about and teasing, which is Varion Diagnostics and Varion Tracking Plus. So I am going to hand it over to Dave. Zayed, please stay. We'll be talking about guided troubleshooting, and I think naturally Dave will answer your question. So now I am going to hand it back over to Dave to walk us through our two solutions that are helping teams kind of turn these challenges that we've chatted about today into usable solutions for their operations.
Great. Thanks, Danny. Yeah, so here's an overview of the products that we offer into the market space. So Varion used to be ATP. Our core area was publications on the business and general aviation. So but what we're going to be talking about today is on the right side of this screen, which the tracking plus, and diagnostics. So Varion Tracking Plus was a recent acquisition. Diagnostics was a acquisition maybe a decade ago. And then there was a new acquisition here last year that has added additional capabilities on the diagnostic side. So think of these as, solutions that are able to capture data, but also be able to analyze that data to give you the insight that you need to be able to keep your operations operational and correct those issues that come up in an efficient and effective manner. Right, next slide. Yeah. So we talked about this a little bit earlier, but here at Varion, we are leveraging AI to be able to find the problems before they happen. So, we have data engineering. We're using machine learning. I talked about the natural language processing model. So we have a number of NLP algorithms that analyze that data that's coming in to then give you that statistic. Well, I can't even
I
talk.
know.
The stats that you need to analyze the pattern that's happening, and then generative AI. So we're trying to, create models that are self-contained, so we lose that hallucination, things that happened on generative AI, and we're trying to self-contain that to, give you confidence in the data that we're gathering and analyzing. And then, obviously, you want to kind of look back. Where are your deficiencies, and then move forward to be able to correct those and make yourself better and better every day. Next slide. So first, I'm going to talk about Varion Tracking Plus. So it's an end-to-end aviation management platform, or you may call it an ERP. Go ahead to the next one. So it's an all-in-one solution. So there is fleet management. So understanding, your airworthiness of your fleet, managing the maintenance program that is associated to them, the revision control, along with configuration management. What is your life limit components, or the components that you're tracking life against? And then also, that ADSB process side as well, linking that all together and being able to capture the utilization against your fleet. And then being able to take that information, whether it's a scheduled maintenance or an unscheduled maintenance, and moving that into the MRO management side. So we have baseline maintenance capability along with components. So if you have capabilities of repairing your own components, it has capabilities into that. And then that integrates into the inventory management side of the application. So this is an all-in-one solution, self-contained, that inventory management is linked to the MRO management side, making sure that you have the available materials when that work is scheduled and executed. We also have flight operations. So we're managing the schedule and crew recency. And we utilize that information to help on the planning side on the fleet management. So when scheduled maintenance is occurring, how does that fit in with your flight operations? And then business support. So managing your users, your employees in the system, making sure that they have the right credentials, and the right certification to be able to execute that work. We have integrations to financial and accounting solutions and other solutions that we need to, and then making sure that your compliance on the quality and safety side. So being able to report any safety issues, but also be able to do quality audits on yourself, or if the regulator comes into your organization and they perform an audit, you can record non-conformances and then be able to apply corrective actions to that. Go to the next one there. So as we dig deeper into each one of these modules, the fleet management module gives you a kind of a dashboard view, where your fleet stands. Are they in a serviceable condition or an unserviceable condition? And you can apply rules to your fleet. So when something occurs, that will take the aircraft out of service, which gives you a flag to say, hey, I need to get that issue fixed before I put that aircraft back into service. So we're taking all that information, giving you insight to be able to take actions when things go wrong. So being able to record those pilot reported defects, maintenance reported defects, but also sensor reported issues as well. So we can take all that information into the system, give you the insight of what's happening to your fleet, and then be able to push that over into the maintenance side to get that aircraft back into service quickly. Go to the next one. Now, that fleet management moves into the MRO. So as you're operating your aircraft, there's scheduled maintenance that needs to be performed, but also that unscheduled maintenance. And this is where the MRO management side of Tracking Plus comes into play. Here, I can allocate, work orders or work packages from the aircraft, be able to generate the manuals and the PDFs that are associated to those AMM cards, and then be able to assign that to the technician for them to execute that work. And that can all be done digitally and using a mobile device. So we're giving that information, putting that information into the technician's hands so they're not walking back and forth to a desktop to be able to record their work. They can all do it there on wing if they needed to. Go to the next one. And that MRO management side, like I said, is fully integrated with the inventory. So as scheduled maintenance is planned, as well as unscheduled maintenance, you can create demands for material that flows into the inventory management side to see if I have that material available. If it is available, it will reserve that material for that work. If it's not available, it will push that into procurement to go out and to procure that item. And then that has a full life cycle of demand all the way to receipt back onto the aircraft. So there's a full inventory management capability within the Tracking Plus solution. Go to the next slide. And then we need to have business support. So making sure that your employees are qualified, those licenses are current. There's a training module to make sure that you can record those training outcomes and whether they pass or fail. You're able to capture, productive time. You can do other approvals in the system. There's a number of things that you can do on the business support side. So integration to other systems, being able to analyze the data that you have in the system. So there's a number of, supporting business capabilities within the application to fully connect your IT infrastructure.
Great.
Yeah, go to the next one. And then that moves into diagnostics. So think of the Tracking Plus solution as your M&E system, capturing that day-to-day information. And the diagnostics is then a tool to help you improve that aircraft availability. So taking that to PIREP and MyRep information, and then being able to give you the insight and take action on that. So there's 3 modules within the diagnostics platform. There's defect analysis. So think of this as that repetitive defect identification, and then being able to give you alerts on those aircrafts that have a repeat issue that you need to take action on. So driving the technician from, just do a reset to actually going out and fixing that problem, and giving you the alerts when those new issues come up through the M&E system. Then that moves into the guided troubleshooting side. So we take that defect analysis. Hey, I have that repetitive defect. How do I get that fixed either the first time or get it fixed here right now? How do we guide the end user to be able to identify that fix, as well as pushing that information down to the hands of the technician? So the guided troubleshooting side is taking not just corrective action that you've had in the system, but we're also incorporating that into the fault isolation manual and connecting that to your aircraft maintenance manual, your wiring diagrams. All of that information is right there in the hands for the technician to be able to execute that fix. And what we're doing with that information, I think this goes to the question that was proposed is, okay, how do I look at past data to help me, determine the next fix, right? So we're taking all that past information, identifying did that fix that problem the first time, or maybe there was multiple fixes on that. We're taking all that information, putting that into the hands of the maintenance controller as well as the technician to identify what fix has fixed that in the past the most percentage-wise, so maybe 60%, 80%. And then we're showing you all the different fixes that could link to that issue, and to be able to give you that insight to say, okay, what is the most likely fix to fix this problem? And to give you confidence or give you additional insight, we can take you into a guided troubleshooting session, which then you can start doing questions and answers to then be able to narrow that list down to one or two of those identified known solutions to be able to get you that fix. And then what we're doing on the third one is reliability. So all that information, whether it's in the M&E system, your flight operation system, getting that technical dispatch information, we're taking that all in. We're cleansing that data, and then we're able to give you predictive insight from that information that we're capturing, but also being giving you the ability to give that information to your regulator. So we have a push button capability to create your CAS or SMS reporting reports to reduce those audit risk and give you the ability to put your focus in on trying to make yourself more efficient instead of just trying to build reports. We're trying to make that more efficient for you. So those are the three modules that we have in diagnostics. Go ahead and to the next one. So, like I said, kind of the Varion reliability is a new acquisition for us here at Varion. We're using, predictive capability from past information to identify risk on-wing components to say, hey, you're at a certain risk level. Do you want to take that risk on? And then we utilize that information to then predict when unscheduled removals might happen, which drives you insight to where you need to have available material. And then we can also identify rogue parts and seasonal trends. And like I said, we have a push button capability to create your regulatory reliability reports. And you can use this to optimize your fleet uptime. And then you can turn that information into actionable data if you need to. Go ahead to the next one. So that
Ooh.
is just a cover of our two solutions that we're kind of focusing on today. I hope that gave you some insight to our capabilities that we have in the market.
Yeah. Thank you, Dave. And I think something, that I keep hearing, like I love when I get a chance to sit down and talk with you about all of these topics, really is that idea of everyone wants more data and everyone has mountains of data, more than they know what they can do with. And so I appreciate here at Varion that we use that data for actionable insights and ways that they can make meaningful improvements to their operation, which really is the name of the game. So that, kind of concludes our more structured discussion. And I want to make space for everyone's questions. So, if you're still here with us, please drop them in the Q&A again. Zaya, thank you for the guided troubleshooting question, and Dave for going into that during the session. But now I want to do something maybe a little bit more fun, which is kind of this rapid fire this or that. So we also have a poll launching so that our audience here can partake as well. But really looking forward to getting your insights on, without a lot of context or background, like which one would you choose? So first up, would you rather have more staff or smarter systems? Dave, we'll go first with you and then we'll do John second.
So I think it's going to be difficult for more staff, just what's happening out there. So I think the focus is smarter systems. You want systems to help you be more efficient and effective in your operation.
John?
Yeah, kind of building on what Dave said, right? Everybody would love to have more staff. That's not going to be the case going forward. So you might as well have smarter systems to help, make up for that loss of tribal knowledge within your maintenance crew.
Yeah. Next up, fewer tools or better integrations and connections into multiple systems.
Yeah, so I think these go hand in hand. So better integrations leads to fewer tools. So you're always trying to bridge the gap that solutions have instead of trying to put more tools to bridge that gap. Maybe I think better integration is the way to go to give you a complete insight of what's happening.
John?
Yeah, I'd follow along with better integration as well. We're getting to the point where we can have a single pane of glass, whether that be on a monitor in an MCC or on an iPad on the ramp. So if we can integrate everything into that one single pane of glass, the better integration to have each one of our independent functions there represented in one piece is probably the way to go.
Real-time data or better reporting? John, we'll start with you this round.
Yeah, we got tons of real-time data. To your point earlier, what we really need is better reporting. How do we use that, right? What does this mean? It's great to have this mountain of ones and zeros, but unless you can turn that into something that you can make an actionable decision on, it's just interesting.
Yeah. Dave?
Yeah, so like John says, better reporting is, a better way of going, but you need that in real time. So I think they go hand in hand. So you want to be able to, see that, hey, issues come up and I need to take action on that. So you need to have a better way of getting that real-time data into the hands of the end user.
Yeah. I can see from our poll that we've actually got like about a 40-60 split with 60% people here saying that they would like better reporting. So the next one though is a 100% across the board. So we'll see if you guys agree, which is catch issues early or fix them faster. John?
So I'm an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure kind of guy. I would like to catch those issues early and have them corrected, really fixed the first time because of the downline chaos that it causes instead of fixing a million defects faster.
Yeah, I agree with John. So catching that issue earlier is a way to make yourself more efficient. Uh, yeah, so that's what I would say is catch them earlier.
Yep. Since we have been in here and I'm kind of seeing those live results, we now have an 86% saying catch issues early, 14% fixing them faster. So I'm going to end the poll. Thank you everyone for your responses. Hopefully that was an engaging and fun session. But really, it's now kind of your turn to ask the questions. So our Q&A is still open. We've got a couple that I think that we can go through, and we have about 5 minutes left in our time. So even if we don't get to them, please post them. We will make sure to follow up with you after the event. The first question that I see here is how fast can diagnostics give something useful on a chronic issue?
Yeah, so it all depends on the operator and their core system's capability. So we have publish APIs, web services to get real-time data into the system. Now, what kind of hinders that is the operator's source system, the M&E system, and their capability to push that data out. So we can get almost real time to whatever that operator's capability is. So it really just depends on your as an operator, your capability. The diagnostic solution is there and it's available to whatever you can provide.
Yeah. Next one I see, I think this is more on the tracking plus side, but can it handle tracking inventory records, or is it still kind of bouncing between tools?
No, it is a single tool that has, inventory and maintenance and fleet management all in one. So it's all self-contained. And if you need to integrate that financial information into an ERP, we have, published APIs to be able to do that. But if you're just looking at the inventory side, you're able to it's all self-contained. It has a complete life cycle that I mentioned earlier, and it's all fully integrated into the maintenance and fleet operation side of the application.
Awesome. I've got one more. Is anyone in diagnostics like, how do they prioritize which squawks to look at first?
So it depends. Each operator uses the system a little bit differently, but there is a way to categorize and put a risk level on those squawks. And there's also the ability to create alerts in the system to prioritize, hey, if this occurs, I need to be notified right away. So there's a number of different ways of configuration and tools to utilize in the diagnostics to be able to identify that chronic or that repetitive issue, or just even a single squawk coming into the system for you to be alerted, notified, and to be able to take action on.
Great. I just wanted to ask before we close out, are there any kind of closing remarks or thoughts that we want to leave uh our team here with today? John, I'll start with you.
Thanks, Danny. Yeah, it's been a pleasure to be on today. So, what I would like to emphasize, the takeaway from this is, especially when it comes to maintenance planning and operational reliability, the farther out you can see the challenges, the more options you have. And as you get closer to that event horizon, the fewer options you have, and therefore the higher likelihood of a less than desirable outcome. Using tools like AI to make up for some of our human shortfalls at this point, and also making turning data into actionable items to do your planning, pays for itself over and over again. And really, if we're going to continue to grow and improve our operations and grow our business, I would encourage everybody to take a look at these tools and your own tech stack within your own company to see if you're really doing everything you can to leverage those.
Mm-hmm. Dave?
Yeah, I just say thank you for your time and the questions that have come in. I know we didn't answer all the questions, but I concur with John. Take advantage of these tools. Your certain systems, you may not be taking full advantage of that. We can help you with these tools that we offer into the market space.
Great. I do see we did have a couple of like last minute. I know we're at time. So Zayed, another question on defect analysis. We have another one from Kuda on how effective is AI in defect solving. I'll make sure that our team follows up directly with you. And then we'll also be sending out not just the recording, some bonus materials. And please, if you want to follow up with this on how this might look for your operation, like we're always happy to kind of take those discovery calls, show you in the platform even more in depth than we have today. So thank you again for everyone's time. John, Dave, a pleasure as always.
Thanks,
Um,
everyone.
Standing.
and we look forward to seeing everyone soon. Take care.